Ben Randall here from Beggarbush Gun Dogs, based in Herefordshire. We're going to look at some of the top tips to improve your dog's training and improve your relationship with your dog. I'm no different than you. I want a dog that I can take for a walk in a park. I can take for a walk when there's livestock. When I say leave, when I say heel, they come back to me. It doesn't chase, doesn't run off. It sees other dogs, doesn't let me down. We all want that type of dog. So this will help you achieve those goals that we all want, the ultimate family companion. So what would my number one problem be for clients? Ben, recall. I always hear this. Ben, how do I get my dog to come back to me? Can I turn up at your kennels? Can I turn up at training? And can you give me the magic wand on the instant recall? And like I explained to them, it doesn't matter how good I am as a trainer, we've got to teach this command. It's no different than teaching the word sit. The dog needs to hear its name or needs to hear the recall whistle and want to respond to it as quickly as possible to get back to us. If it does that, again, the rewards will come. There's no quick fix for this, but I'll tell you some of the problems, the key problems that people make, the key mistakes from early doors. So one of the biggest mistakes I see in the world of dogs, not just gun dogs, is they're taking their dogs out as puppies and young dogs and allowing them freedom to play. Whilst it all seems fantastic, the dog's running around, sniffing and playing, what you're doing every day, twice a day, 60 times the first month, you're teaching your dog to develop and hone its own skills, which means it's developing its nose, to find far more interesting things than us. We need to be the ultimate of interest to that dog. The dog must want to respond to us and stay connected to us because, again, the rewards come directly from us. But the more we take our dogs out, month after month after month, for 20 minutes, half an hour, twice a day, allowing the dog the freedom to find its own fun and enjoyment, the harder the recall will come. Once a dog then finds that it can actually find things with its nose, so it finds a rabbit, it finds a squirrel, it finds a deer, and then it chases that deer, then we've got a real challenge on our hands to reconvince that dog it doesn't need to do that, it needs to stay with us. So I'm going to give you some real key important factors now for training your dog the perfect recall. Okay, let's start with a young dog. You've bought yourself a puppy. Every single time you feed that puppy, again 3 times a day, I use their name and I tap my left leg, but also I use the whistle, and the whistle will be, for example, 3 or 4 continuous pips on the whistle. When the dog hears that sound, it always hears it when it's getting fed. It always hears it when I'm preparing the food. So I start to get the food ready and I start to make the commands. So I say, for example, Bertie, Bertie. Bertie hears me, hears that sound and comes to me. When I put the food down, after the patience has been taught for the sit, the food goes on the floor, I continually use that command. So the dog now associates that recall sound and its name with something positive. So I do that twice a day, again 60 times the first month, and I do that then around the household environment. So quite often I have some bits of kibble in my pocket. I don't always do it with kibble, I always do it with praise. So the dog hears the sound. Every time it hears it, its ears pick up, it looks, it hears, it follows that sound, it comes straight to me. Quite often I put 2 hands down and give some praise, but in a calm, relaxed mode, or I give her the odd bit of kibble. The dog starts to associate that noise with something positive coming directly from me. So again, like with all of our training, we need to break this down and we need to master this in low distraction environments. Again, if we cannot master this in the kitchen or in the lounge or in the hallway, we're never going to do this out in a big half-acre garden or over the park. It's never going to work. So let's really master this at feed times in and around the house and home environment, in a small areas in the garden on the patio, and then let's start testing it in larger, bigger areas. So how do we start doing walks? Does a puppy need that half an hour, 40-minute walk twice a day? The answer is no. It needs to learn to relax and be calm in around the house home environment, and it needs to be taught life's commands as often as you possibly can and consistent as you can for the first month or 2. My clients often arrive for morning lessons and I told them not to overfeed their dog in the morning, save some of the kibble so we can hopefully introduce that whilst we're doing the recall commands. I take them into a yard, and the yard to me is a sterile yard with no real distractions in. We then start asking the dog to follow us around, and when it's following us, we're holding the tin in our hand, we're just shaking the tin slightly, and we're using the dog's name and a recall sound. So the dog now is associating its name and that recall sound with a reward. And every so often the dog comes to me after 5 or 6 recalls of following me, I put my hand into the bowl and I give the dog a reward. When I'm really happy the dog is doing this within that sterile yard environment, I'll open the gate and we go into a smaller area within my paddock. Okay, so I've got a young dog here sitting patiently. We've gone through the patience training as I've explained. I now need to teach this recall whistle. She's a slightly older dog, but let's say for example her recall isn't quite as good as we'd like it to be. So I need to teach her that the sound of recall whistle is a positive. So first of all, she knows the verbal, her name verbally, and she knows the verbal heel command. So I'm going to give that first, then we can add the whistling. So Kim, heel. So she knows to come back to me, she comes back and she gets a little reward. Sit. Do it once more. Kim, heel. Sit. Sit. So now I'm going to use the recall whistle and see if she knows that. She started to understand it over the last few weeks. Sit. So I don't always reward straight away. Another recall. You see me just holding this bit of kibble, and I'm going to be using the whistle as I'm holding it. So she understands and associates that noise of recall with something positive. You see, she could not be any more excited. Can't be having any more fun, and every time she hears that, it's instant. So let's do it once more, and let's just see how instant this is. As soon as I use this whistle, let's see how quickly she responds to it. So with your older dog, when you go away from the lesson here, you'll be going home understanding that every time that dog hears that sound, something good must happen, whether that be a praise or feed times. So within a week or 2 of doing this, you will have a dog that is absolutely interacting with you as soon as it hears that sound of recall or its name. Its ears prick up, you can see its face light up, and it can't wait to get back to you. And it follows you consistently around the house or consistently around your garden. When this is really absolutely nailed, I want you to start taking this outside into a different environment. But again, don't go to an environment where there's 10 other dogs, or there's a herd of sheep, or there's a load of other livestock. Stay away from those areas because we haven't got this established yet. And again, do not put pressure on yourself or your dog to master this within a week. So I'm going to throw her something she really wants. I'm going to ask her to come away from that. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to throw this over her head. She's patient, she's calm. I'm going to now recall her back to me with a recall whistle only and a calm praise. Sit. And in this situation, I'm going to go and pick it up myself. So it's not always hers. She doesn't always get it. She's playing a game with me. Sometimes she gets it, sometimes she doesn't. So in her mind, I might get it, I might not. He may go and get it himself. In fact, I have no idea. So the more patient I am, the more attentive to him I am, the more the potential chance I've got of getting something I want. But at the moment, that's just good enough. Sit. Sit. So in this situation now, I'm going to throw it. I'm going to send her for it. So in full flow, she's going for something she desperately wants out here in this environment. I'm going to see if the recall works halfway. So I'm going to throw the dummy. She desperately wants this. Kim, get out. Sit. 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 Kim, get out. Sit. So quite often I get a phone call from my client, Ben, the dog's ignoring me. I've tried it, it's not working. Normally they've gone outside into a different environment, there's too many distractions, and normally it's an environment where the dog has continually being naughty, let's say for example for 2-3 years, and the dog is understands this is what I do in this environment, because without the owner knowing, they've taught him to ignore the whistle in that environment. They've taught him to ignore the commands within that environment because he has done it for so long. It's become that type of behaviour that I do, is taught behaviour. So we need to take that behaviour away, and I say to my clients, right, you do not let it in the garden off the lead to commit those faults and to sow those bad seeds. So we need to come back from there, maybe fence some areas off within the garden and get absolutely perfect recall, like we did in the lesson, like we did in the house, in the patio area. Get that cracked first. Once we've got that, then we can progress a bit deeper into the garden and be more distractions in different environments.